I truly don't see things as failure anymore. It's just like I'm just learning and
How did this happen? Because can you teach me this?
no, that's okay. I was diagnosed with ADHD in 2019.
How do you know that you're having a cerebral reaction to something or a hormonal reaction to something?
Why does it matter?
It matters because some feelings change later.
All feelings change later.
I know, but there are some things which are placed in fact, for example.
Why is fact important?
Come on, man. Let's have a 5-minute chat about working in the US
Yeah.
versus working on projects in India. There are very few artists who I can, and she's a very liberal person, so I'm free enough to ask her this question on camera, to ask her about her experiences with different psychedelic, psychotropic substances. You've done ayahuasca.
Not ayahuasca, but I have done like these psychedelic sound healing journeys.
You've done acid.
Are we like listing all the things here? You know, some
ये
extent.
psychedelic और गोवा के साथ एक joke याद आया. In
बोलो,
Goa,
बोलो.
people don't say hi, how are you? They say how, hi are you? Do you sketch? Do you sketch?
Oh yeah, I've started drawing, bro.
No, how do you start sketching for a work which is an audio piece or a sensory piece?
She's a quantum listener, which is essentially a way of talking about deep listening.
What's a quantum listener? Like, from my limited understanding of what ADHD is, I feel someone who's able to create such kind of production and concentrate on hours and hours of data and like go through this entire process of making artworks cannot have attention deficit disorder, because you're so powerful when you're making a work of art that I don't know which, like, I'm questioning the line of treatment in a very light way, because you have to be a champion to make the kind of work you do. Have you directed this in your artwork?
Absolutely. I'm like, my next work that I'm going to make is literally like, is a homage and dedicated to all the neurospicy, neurodivergent people. It's called Shaper of Chaos.
It sounds like you're making this up to make sure that you don't hurt yourself.
Why should I? Yeah, I absolutely would. I want to be so strong and so courageous that I can be as soft as I can. That's my goal.
Wow. Okay.
See that ADHD, like people with ADHD, somehow I think maybe you're coming with an assumption that if you have ADHD, you can't be skilled or you can't focus or something. That's not what is true. What happens is that
I'll admit that I feel that way.
Yeah, and what is actually true is that the thing that you're super interested in, you can like do that for 15,000 hours.
Sure.
But the thing that what makes it harder is to do things that you're not interested in.
Like file your taxes.
Exactly. Exactly.
But what citizenship do you have?
Right now I have Indian citizenship.
Hey, so then you can't say all those things you said.
Talk about what did we talk about? We talked about, I don't know.
Hello and welcome to this amazing episode of Art History Plus. We've just finished the conversation, but I'm going to cut this and put it in the start. And Surbhi Saraf here is going to explain to you what we spoke about in this whole podcast. She's going to summarize it and she's going to ask you to like, comment and subscribe to Art History Plus. And then we start the podcast.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure. We spoke about your misconceptions about ADHD. We spoke about what is it? We spoke about how like the idea of healing is all connected to self-love and compassion and growing bigger, that inner space.
Yes.
How my work is connected to all of this work, and how art and spiritual practice is all one thing, and how it connects to my work as a sound video performance artist. And we talked a little bit about
our fears.
How
being a mother.
Being a mother, yes, for sure. What else?
And about like getting high.
About getting high on life, in life, from life.
That's what she said.
From, in, of. All right, please like, share, and subscribe to Artistry Plus.
Yes.
This
No,
is
you
awesome.
don't need to ring the bell.
Okay, don't ring the bell.
You can just subscribe.
Just
Subscribe.
subscribe.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
We start the podcast now.
Very cute.
Does it look like a dead cat?
Not a dead cat. It's like a little furry insect.
It's called a dead cat.
It's called a dead cat.
It's a dead cat filter, pop filter.
Yeah. I didn't know it.
Hello, and welcome to this really special episode. I'm meeting an old friend, Survi Saraf. She's come to Goa. Right, welcome to Goa, firstly.
Thank you.
Welcome back to India. A lady comes from San Francisco. Now she's moved to New York. She's a mixed media artist. She was my senior in MSU Baroda. You were a painter?
I did paint. Yes.
She was a painter. Now she, I think, has an allergy to painting.
No, I don't.
No, but she does high-end sound pieces. She does high-quality productions. We're going to have a conversation about her shifting to the United States, working and doing projects in India, her associations with her galleries, to figure out if she is happy in the US. She's also a mother. I didn't know that. I really didn't know you're a mother. I didn't know. I just thought I didn't know you were older than me also. Somebody recently told her she's 24 and she said, yeah, I am.
Yeah,
I
right.
find it amazing. I have a bunch of questions I want to ask you straight up.
Go ahead.
Do you introduce yourself? Do you want to introduce yourself in a more professional way? I know you as a friend, and I know you I've introduced you very informally. But if you were in the elevator with the director of the Guggenheim, how would you introduce yourself?
Wow, that's a lot of pressure. First thought. But yeah, I would say I'm a interdisciplinary artist working in video, sound, performance. What else? Music and sound is a central part of everything that I've ever done. I also move, and movement is, again, it's something that flows through everything, which is video. It's also just the way I think. It's that it adds that fluidity to everything I do. So
You use time as a medium,
time as a medium,
as opposed to a painter who uses space as a medium only.
time certainly as a medium.
Time. I mean, you use the timeline. The timeline is very important in all your work. Like whenever I've
Absolutely.
seen your practice, I've seen that you need. There's a timeline. It's shifting. Either it's a sound piece, it's a video work. You seem to. Also, I have these questions. I interviewed two people. One is the Jay Chandra from Atakalari Center of Movement. I had a fantastic conversation about dance and movement with him. So I can take that conversation with you for my learnings from that. And I also interviewed Alan from, he's doing a sound piece. He's a sound artist, a sonic artist. I sometimes feel like I asked him also, the classical artists in India who've been painting, sometimes don't get it. Like they feel like
Don't get what?
they don't get the medium.
They don't get the painting as the medium?
They don't get video as a medium. They don't
Video as a
they don't
medium.
get sonic pieces as a medium, because maybe it's a shortcoming. But if somebody had to come and experience your work, like I saw people come and sit in front of your work, they have to invest a certain amount of time, as opposed to a painting, which has become like you come into the exhibition, you look at the artwork, you're like, you give it like 4 seconds and you're done, and you're like, okay, either you liked it or you'll go zoom in and you come closer. Your work demands you to sit and watch 7 minutes of your film if you want to get it. So don't you feel that's like a major investment in somebody's life? Like if somebody wants to experience the work, durational pieces require a lot of active participation from the viewer, and that's a drawback, or do you think that's the good thing?
I think it's a good thing because we watch media that is durational all the time. Video, songs, movie, Bollywood, everything. We just have to create work in a way that is engaging enough. That's something that I'm always doing, drawing people in. And that's why the idea of the timeline actually quite makes sense. What you said, like there is a progression. So oftentimes people would say like, I felt I was taken on a journey, or I was drawn into deeper and deeper into the place you want to take us, and that is something that all forms of like moving media does, whether it's a song, choreography, dance, like it has a start, a middle and an end. My videos often end with a loop, and they're kind of like a perfect loop. Uh,
You mean the end matches the start, so you can't tell whether
Yeah.
7 minutes have passed. Or,
Exactly. And that's something that's really important for me because I see that like cyclical time as a big kind of metaphor to talk about life, breath, healing, just things that are constantly repeating themselves. As we are viewing it, we're changed every single time we see it. So that is a really important format that I use.
and when you practice your works, everything you said, time, healing, these are, I mean, this in the popular culture, there's this concept of wellness.
Right.
Like 2030 belongs to the theme is going to be wellness. Everybody is having, so these words that you just mentioned, you've been working on these ideas and these concepts since a longer time, or do you feel like you also fall victim to the current trend of themes that are happening in the world? Like I see sound artists, most of them dabbling in these themes. Is that something that you have a community where you all just discuss certain themes? I've never seen a very over, like, you know, I feel like sonic artists are using the drone sound. They're using a very bass. They use bass to their advantage. They use darkness to their advantage. They use, I mean, I understand it's video, but the way painters have been exploring different kind of visual languages, don't you feel like video artists and sonic artists have been are limiting themselves? Like, I feel that. I'm asking you, what your
Is limiting to what?
to the kind of language everybody. If you see the second floor at in your space where you exhibited,
I think at the end of the day, the work needs to be authentic to your journey
Yeah.
and what you need from this art. You
Yes.
know, like I, when I started like focusing on healing as one of the themes,
yes,
I mean, there are two things. One is that I arrived at it at a point where I needed that in my life,
Yes.
that specific inquiry. And at the same time, the medium itself lends itself, right? Like the
Yes.
medium of sound and music has always been a big source of, you know, giving me calm, giving me a place where I can feel at home. And it's always been that medium. Also, when you grow up learning Hindustani classical music, when you listen to a lot
yeah.
of Hindustani classical music, like they all have this intrinsic quality of like something called, you know, something that you need to like focus and quiet down, and that's something that I always just need to do. And so you can say it's the trend, but at the same time, it's just like these zeitgeist moments or these moments that are collectively being experienced. They're also saying something about where we are as a people and what the society kind of needs. And, you know, I would say a lot of my focus began right around the pandemic when we were all
Yeah.
hurting at many different levels. And I started to look at music as the musical or the sound aspect of my practice in a much more deeper way, where I just needed to stop and kind of be like, okay, this is what's really making me feel good. And it's coming from the practice of, you know, the practice of feeling good and the practice of pleasure. That is really important in expanding your sensual awareness, which is a really important thing that one needs to do as an artist to be able to be tuned into the world, right? So all of those things are very interconnected
Yeah.
in the way I see it.
Sure. Your ideas of healing, do they come from is the prompt coming out from a trauma-induced history past, or are you speaking of this in a more general sense? Like,
I'm particularly talking about my
and if you want to
diagnosis.
talk about,
Yeah, no, that's okay. I was diagnosed with ADHD in 2019. That really kind of like shook my world because I saw my world in a completely different way. I saw myself in a completely different way. It was a very cathartic experience where I was like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. I've been a neurodiverse person trying to fit myself in a neurotypical world.
Yeah.
And over time, slowly, as I started to understand myself a bit more, my brain, and just, you know, kind of really appreciate the beauty of my brain, and what is possible and how I think and how I make those connections.
Yeah.
So there's been, I think,
Can I ask you what were you experiencing while you had ADHD? When, like, I don't have ADHD. I'm not diagnosed myself, so I don't know if I have it or not. But I'm asking you if how does one? I mean, this is a great conversation. I know quite a few creative people
yes,
who seem like they are they have a short attention span.
right,
I don't know whether that's worthy enough to diagnose yourself
right.
or to go in that direction. But was there a point where you realized that, okay, I need to see a doctor now?
I was meeting with a therapist and we were talking about my experience, how I was just feeling very scattered. It was hard for me to like finish projects, or just my sense of self, of who I thought I was,
Yeah.
felt so distorted, and I didn't feel good, and I felt bad about myself a lot. And
Is that because of environmentally induced reaction, or was it a actual self-meditative process where you said, okay, this is who I am? Because the environment can have an effect on you.
it's a very complex process, and it's kind of hard to really encapsulate in a few words, because it was a lifetime of experiences
Yes.
that made me feel a certain way about myself. And when my therapist heard me talk about it, she was like, have you tried to get a diagnosis for ADHD? It sounds like the things that you're describing.
Can you explain what they are?
Well, there's so many. One of the things is like
Symptoms.
one of the things that happens is that you get overwhelmed really quickly,
Yeah.
because your brain, one of the things that happens in ADHD is like you have a lack of, like, the dopamine connections are a little bit like weak.
Yeah.
So a neurotypical brain would, like, appreciate some, like, get a feedback on something, and then they would even immediately get that dopamine
Yeah.
dose.
Yeah.
Whereas a diverse brain, not just ADHD, but there are other, like, tangential
Yeah.
conditions that come with it. That chain would be a little bit weak and would be missing. And so one thing that would happen also is that at any given time, my brain is receiving information. How do I explain this? A lot more information.
Yes.
For example, touch, wind, smell, all of those. Imagine, like, in a song,
And you're able to take all of this at the same time and be overwhelmed.
it's all coming at the same time.
Yeah.
But, like, just in a song, you mix at any time. It's not like all the instruments are playing at the same level,
Yes,
right?
yes.
You have something playing a little bit lower, then the bass is higher, the treble is lower, blah, 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 like that. And so, but imagine everything coming at the same intensity at like full 10.
Yes.
Then it's harder for you to, like, figure out, what do I really need to focus on?
Yes.
And that often creates overwhelm. This is just one of the little things that one experiences when they have ADHD. And that overwhelm then would cause paralysis. Then paralysis would cause, like, inertia and, like, procrastination, and a series of things that lead to.
And have you used this? Have you directed this in your artwork?
Absolutely. I'm like, my next work that I'm going to make is literally like, is a homage and dedicated to all the neurospicy, neurodivergent people. It's called Shaper of Chaos.
Can you explain the PDF or the PPT?
PPT. It's really.
What's the PPT?
What is PPT?
The PowerPoint presentation of this
PowerPoint
work?
presentation of a work that has not been made. Sure.
No, like if you have to pitch it to yourself,
Yeah,
you have
I
to
know,
pitch it for funding for somebody. You have to write something.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, it's the simpler.
Do you
The
sketch? Do you sketch?
Oh yeah, I've started drawing, bro.
No. How do you start sketching for a work which is an audio piece or a sensory piece? Like for a painter, a two-dimensional painter,
Right.
a two-dimensional drawing works.
Right.
For a fourth-dimensional work of art, which
18th
includes
dimensional.
no
I would say.
fourth dimensional. It includes time and maybe some tech. So okay, let's give one
I
more
don't know.
time. Let's do fifth dimensional work.
I think there are definitely more than 4 dimensions in my work.
You want to have this conversation?
I'm kidding.
No, I'll have a great. I love this subject, by the way. If you want to go down that.
No. Let's keep
can-
moving. Yeah.
No, so I want to ask you about what this work of yours is, where you were.
I mean, it's very much at the concept level. I've partly kind of started working on it. But it's really like ADHD brain can internally feel very chaotic.
Okay.
And just to be be in the world,
Yeah.
you need some kind of shaping, some kind of making sense, some kind of you need that intrinsic skill of like.
Yes.
But the idea of shaping really comes from Octavia Butler, who is one of my heroes, and she wrote this series of books called The Parable of the Sower, in which she talks about shaping change as like there are these characters that are there are these people who are called the shapers, and she often talks about this idea of shaping God. Shaping change is shaping God, or shaping God is shaping change, and God is change. So
God
this
is change.
idea is so I'm kind of just repurposing the word change into chaos. It's a very similar idea because change brings chaos, and chaos can be change can be chaotic. In that
You're
way.
looking at the subject from the chaos angle, not from the healing angle.
But
If you
all of that
want to live in
is-
chaos, is your work solution oriented or is it problem oriented?
I think it is
I'm simplifying
neither.
the hell out of
No,
it.
simplify it. But I would say it's really
You want everyone to feel chaotic as you felt?
No,
or
no,
do you
this
want-
has very little to do
Well,
with that.
okay.
Yeah, it's not about feeling chaotic or feeling not. It's about embracing the life as it is. It is about being. It is about life is chaotic, and all the best you can do is shape it to be able to live it, in a way that makes sense, that is somehow feels progressive and somehow feels like it's taking you to a new place, right? So that is a very, in my mind, shaping chaos is a very kind of like essential skill for future building, future imagining.
Yeah.
Because we live in a progressively chaotic world. So I see that as a very like positive act, and I'm not necessarily creating chaos. I'm not generating chaos. Accepting that it already is. It is the nature of reality. It is the nature of existence.
I have a question. How sure are you that your artwork starts from, how do you know whether it's a cerebral starting point or a hormonal starting point? Because I'm not trying to be, I'm being very blunt about it, but as a woman who is more sensitive, like my wife is like much more sensitive than me just as a human being, as a kind of human being. And I just sometimes I wonder, as I'm asking you as a guy, okay, I'm asking you this a very flat question, is that how do you respond to someone who says, is this the like the chaos? I have this conversation with my wife all the time. It's like, how do you know that you're having a cerebral reaction to something or a hormonal reaction to something?
Why does it matter?
It matters because some feelings change later.
All feelings change later.
I know, but there are some things which are placed in fact, for example.
Why is fact important?
Come on.
I'm sorry. I think my subjective experience
Like
is
for
like
my
sure.
Since I've met you,
Yeah.
I don't think, like, from my limited understanding of what ADHD is, I feel someone who's able to create such kind of production and concentrate on hours and hours of data and like go through this entire process of making artworks cannot have attention deficit disorder, because you're so powerful when you're making a work of art that I don't know which, like, I'm questioning the line of treatment in a very light way, because you have to be a champion to make the kind of work you do. And then when someone comes and tells me, okay, I'll just say it, some American comes and tells me that I have ADHD, I'm like, here we go. This is from where I am in Goa or from India. I feel like it's a trend. I used that word before again. So I'm not disrespecting you. I'm not I'm also on camera saying this.
Yeah,
And I
you
won't
kind of are though. It's
Yeah.
fine though. It's
Yeah.
something that I get a lot,
You can
especially
school
from
me.
people in
Yeah,
India.
you can school
No,
me. I might be completely off, but I just feel like someone, because I've seen your work. I know how much time goes into that, because I edit too.
It's a very, how do I explain this? It's like, it's something,
But I'm saying the medium is perfect. Like
Yeah.
video and sound is the perfect medium for someone who would have a multiple emotional, multiple sensory experience.
Right.
Your work also reflects that.
Right.
But to hide under the blanket or not hide, to have the denominator of ADHD is something that came as a shock to me when you just told me, because I just found out.
Right. I would say, it's something, it's one of my identities. It's one of the things, it's one of the things that makes me who I am. It's not the only thing that makes me who I am.
Yeah.
And so obviously my brain is a big part of what constructs my lived experience.
Sure.
And so is my environment, and so is my history, and so is my parents and community and all of those things, right? And so all I can say is that ADHD as a condition is so complex, and it has so much going on. And, for the first year, it was incredible to learn it. And then learn about that this is something that, it was important for me to understand myself, how I work, and all of that. And then from then on, it becomes just one of the other things that it's an everyday challenge that I deal with.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about ADHD so much. I get it. I want to talk about your creative practice, because the kind of productions you've done in the past just seem to be so good that I feel like I've met someone in New York, in Brooklyn, who who had ADHD, who was like actually trembling, and who kind of like really was changing.
It shows up very differently for very different people. And honestly, you'll see that ADHD, like people with ADHD, somehow I think maybe you're coming with an assumption that if you have ADHD, you can't be skilled or you can't focus or something. That's not what is true. What happens is that
I'll admit that I feel that way.
Yeah, and what is actually true is that the thing that you're super interested in, you can do that for 15,000 hours.
Sure.
But the thing what makes it harder is to do things that you're not interested in.
Like file your taxes.
Exactly.
No, but
that's
isn't that everybody?
True for everyone, yes. But it just everyday existence, like basic stuff that seems for you would be like, oh man, this sucks. I wish I didn't have to do it. You will still get yourself to do it.
Yeah.
But for the same task for me, would take me maybe 3 hours to write an email, and I'm just stressing over it. This was me when I had not learned the tools, when I didn't have the support I have now earlier. Now, obviously,
what kind of support do you have? You have a manager.
I don't have a manager.
She has a manager, guys. She has a producer.
I do have a producer. She is incredible.
She gets to do the stuff, she gets to be the artist.
I get to be the artist.
Be the creative stuff, and everybody. Can you explain that? Because that's something in India which is just started. We have someone like Ev Lemel. She does What About Art. The artist handles production, and it's fantastic work. But I mean, it's not happening in India to the level that it's maybe happening in the US.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's very,
benefits?
very common in the US also, because this is definitely, especially the producer I'm working with Alex Darby, her studio, Hybrid Studios, who helped produce this work that's showing at Serendipity. Yeah, I mean, it was an absolute blessing. And I was, the few weeks after I started working with her, I was like, why would I ever make a video without a producer? Because it's so much of the overhead of being a producer, director, artist, all of those, it's just way too many roles. Work gets compromised in some place. You have your creative vision, and then you're just focused on executing it. And
don't you have to explain everything to her? So you just explain everything to one person?
I just explain everything to mostly one person, but this was the first time me doing a production like this, so I did obviously the costume person,
the green screen,
the camera, the cinematographer, the makeup person. I had a very independent relationship with everyone. But Alex was my main point person. She was kind of also handling all the conversation, and the best part was when you find somebody who really gets your vision, who has just the same kind of an eye to execute your work, and even more, and same thing happened with my the music production person. Where when somebody is so skilled and so
that's okay.
So good at their job, they're going to bring a new kind of energy, new kind of expertise that you on your own may or may not be able to access. So I am truly just feeling so blessed to be able to work with these people.
And you learn from what if you learned along the way working with people who are more professional than you?
Who are you deeply specifically professional in their fields?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also is working in the US. Let's have a 5-minute chat about working in the US
Yeah.
versus working on projects in India.
Right. I haven't. Yeah. Let's talk about that. So let me
And
ask
also, I want to ask you your relationship with money. I'm asking all artists of our age group
you. Yes.
their relationship with money.
Yeah.
So, and why I'm asking this question is because I don't know how well collected you are, whether your works are collected, are they in museum collections, and whether do you have any fears? Because in India, everybody has a fear.
Of course, all artists have
all
fears.
artists have
All
fears.
artists have fears. But let's go back to answering some of your earlier questions first. So, what have I learned from some of the folks I've worked with? First, I just feel more and more humbled. I was like, this is the amount of control that I can let go, and the right kind of a collaborator would give you, the space
Yeah.
to be creative and take all the creative decisions and nudge you and gently guide you in just the right way. So I've learned how to be a better guide, team player, leader, like all of those things. I have learned immensely how to be a better collaborator. This is something a big part of my practice, and I'm always learning.
Do you help anybody else? Are you a mentor to somebody else?
I mentor a lot of folks, just unofficially. Like I have so many friends who come to me, who are maybe like earlier in their career, or we would just like sit and chat. I do that a lot.
The same kind of person who you're mentoring is watching my podcast. Can you give? I don't want to ask how old you are. Can you just give the younger artists who just out of MSU or just out of art school, or who want to become artists and they don't want to paint? They don't think like painters. They don't think in 3 dimension like sculptors. They want to find their own voice, and they are dabbling with a new medium, the new medium, and there's no money in it.
There's no money in it.
So, what advice would you give? What advice would you give a younger artist who's going to go down this hellhole of 5 years to find their voice and essentially maybe
Find their voice for the rest of their life.
Yeah, find their voice for the rest of their life. But also, it comes, being an artist can be pretty painful, because if you find your voice and nobody gives you a second glance and nobody gives you a platform and agency, you can also lose yourself.
Yeah.
So, I have 2 questions. My 2 questions are, would you give advice to anybody? And secondly, I want to ask you, what have you failed? And can you give us examples of your failures, and then maybe channel this conversation into what you learned from those failures? And so if you could fast forward somebody else's career.
Fast forward, man.
In terms of learning.
Absolutely,
As a mentor.
absolutely. First, just a couple of key things that's coming to mind is that I honestly, over the years, that's the part of like growing up and getting older and a little bit wiser, I guess, is that I truly don't see things as failure anymore. It's just like I'm just learning and experiences as like, okay, I have over the years, and that's part of the healing process. But I'm like, I have such positive relationship with myself. I am like such deep in love with myself.
How does this happen? Because can you teach me this?
Oh yeah,
I have a lot of self-doubt.
I do this every day. Of course, I'm a human, so I will have self-doubts. But the way you deal with them, the way you move forward and move past them, is the process of the healing, is the process of increasing that inner space of compassion and love towards yourself, that I actually don't see anything I do as failure anymore. I also don't think losing myself is a problem, as actually my music teacher often talks about, like if you want to find your voice, if you want to be, you want to find your voice, then you have to first lose that voice. You have to first lose yourself in yourself to be able to find yourself. And that's part of the process.
Yeah.
So all of these steps that one would take, all of these things that would make it feel like this sucks and this is so hard, is kind of part of the process, a little bit.
Yeah.
And not to say that the process cannot be made easier and you cannot get advice and you can't like get mentorship. And yet you will follow your own journey and follow your own path in a way that makes most sense to your particular situation. And so, in terms of advice,
No, that was good.
yeah,
That was advice.
that was advice. Okay, great.
Have you failed ever? Like, have you gone through a failure in your professional artistic career where you feel like, shh, you're like, you know what? And then you recovered from that and you were like, now I don't even think about it. You joke about it. It's happened to me a lot.
I mean, you could
Like
say
you send
like
emails-
some specific.
No names.
No. I'm saying like some specific event or something you did that you feel you could have done better, or you could have done something in a different way. Earlier, I used to honestly be like, get so down on myself before I knew that, how my brain actually works, how this kind of thinking is so distorted. I would get so hard on myself. And I obviously, like all humans, I just don't know why I should call it failing. But at the time, it felt like, what the hell am I doing?
Who's channelized you in this train of thought to kind of like what are you listening to? Osho? Like what is happening? What's your algorithm?
My God, I have
What's your algorithm?
I've gone through over the past like 4.5 years. I've gone through so many different spiritual like school of thoughts.
It sounds like you're making this up to make sure that you don't hurt yourself. I do that. I mean, we all do that. I don't know if you're like.
Why would we not do that?
It's as a fail-safe mechanism to be in bliss, because otherwise you'll hurt yourself.
Why should I? Yeah, absolutely. World is a really harsh place, and I want to be so strong and so courageous that I can be as soft as I can. That's my goal.
Wow. Okay.
I want to be soft and gentle and kind and compassionate. That's my ultimate goal, as much as I can be, because we just need more of that in this world. And so I've gone through, I had a whole phase of, where I was doing a lot of like meditation with Buddhist philosophy, listening to a lot of, talks and teachers. But then I was also reading a lot of like books on neurodivergence and understanding.
That's what I'm
my
trying
brain.
to get at. This is after something happened in your life which was tough.
That is 2019 when I got diagnosed. So since last 5 years, I've been in this process of getting deeper and deeper into that inner work that really reflects in everything that I do now.
Yeah.
And it really feels like it no longer feels like an art practice as much as just like a spiritual practice, the same thing.
Can I use a clip of your artwork in the start of this podcast just to give
Of course.
a mild glimpse of...
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Nothing like what you're saying. The whole project of Apni, the video you saw, is a project of self-love. It's a project
it
of...
shows.
And it's like, Apni, mine, ours, theirs, yours, our own, the one who belongs to herself. And to no one and everyone. So it really kind of illustrates this idea of blurring the boundary between self and the other. And that's
amazing, man. That you are focused on your, I feel like sometimes as a painter, when you dabble in these subjects, it becomes too divana. It becomes too like...
Divana Mastana type.
No, it becomes like... like subjects like self-love and healing. As a painter, this subject would seem like this person is what's the word, megalomaniac, or
absorbed, obsessed, or narcissistic.
Yes. But when the medium shifts to video, I kind of like feel like when you give time to the work of art, and when the work demands time, somewhere because of the soundscape, because of the true feeling of what self-love is can be reflected. But in a painting, in a static image, it feels like this guy is, like Sousa, like the vibe is like, it's me, it's just me. So I wonder how that happens.
I think it's just like really how a lot of the times
like Picasso.
your understanding of an artwork is a reflection of your understanding of yourself in some ways. So if your perception of self is limiting, then that's what you're going to see in others. And so the idea of the why I called her Apni is like the one who belongs to herself and to no one is for me the concept of the work is in the name itself because it's so porous, it's so kaleidoscopic, it can mean all these different things,
Yeah.
and it kind of really illustrates this idea of that there are literally as many ways of being in this world as many there are humans.
Yeah.
and and how do you make that kin, like, 'cause I call her a kin maker. She's a quantum listener, which is essentially a way of talking about deep listening.
What's a quantum listener?
Quantum listening is a concept that that has existed in many different fields, I would say. I'm particularly using Pauline Oliveros' definition, who talks about she was pioneering pioneer of sound art, and deep listening was one of her kind of thing that she like really dedicated most of her life
Yeah.
to. She's been a big inspiration for many years in my sound work. She talks about quantum listening as this idea of listening to multiple realities at the same time, or listening to the act of listening. It's very rooted in a lot of like Buddhist concepts of the mind and meditation and slowing down and that kind of inner listening.
Yes.
So it's very rooted in those ideas. But what was I saying? I was saying that, so why I call her Apni a quantum listener is because to make kin, she's a kin maker. To be able to build kinship beyond just the body
With
and
everything.
just like with everything, you need this deep kind of attention, deep, a way of resonating with
Yes.
different frequencies that is, again, beyond the body
Yes.
in this very physical matter.
It's like being
And
a super empath to all living things.
exactly. And so to make kin, you need to listen deeply.
Yeah.
And that's why those two things. But in
And this is a feminine trait, or is it a human trait?
I think it's a human trait, and yet it's rooted in, for my work, I needed to focus on the women. I needed to focus on the femininity and the feminine energy that it brings in Apni's life, in an Apni's existence. And so she is particularly listening to the dreams, the hidden dreams and desires of women in her family, the generations of women who came before her. And partly because, it was inspired by one of my conversations with my mom, where I asked her, I was like, Mama, did you have any dream, or do you have any dreams? She's like, oh, I don't have any dreams or
Like
desires
dreams in
left.
general?
Yeah, I just asked very
or
open
desire.
question. Do you have, आपकी कोई इच्छा है, कोई सपने हैं?
Acha, वैसा, not like do you dream in the night?
No. I just said, do you have? And she's like, oh, no. No. I was like, did you have anything before you
want
got married?
unfulfilled, yeah.
Unfulfilled. She's like, no, we got married so early. Like, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, पता नहीं. Like, come on, think a little bit more. And what about now?
Yeah.
And then she's like, अब तो all dreams, अब तो सब इच्छाएं मर गई हैं. And then,
Wow.
and
how old was she when she had you?
she was 22, 23. Wow. 23. So she was so young.
Young, yeah.
And so that just really broke my heart. I just was like bawling. I was like, can you imagine the millions and millions of women,
Yeah.
desires, dreams, thoughts, who never saw the light of the day? And so I was like, this is what I need.
But why only women? Why not your father? Or like why?
I've already done a work about my father's factory. So, and I have been,
But
because again, it's not.
you're closer to your mother. That's why.
No, I'm actually pretty close to both of them. My father has my brain. My mom obviously is close to me in different ways.
Yeah.
I just felt like I hadn't focused on her.
Can I ask you? You're a mother now.
Yes.
Like, is it? I mean, you have a boy now. So like, like the question is like, can you translate everything? All the sensitivity that you have, do you see a fundamental difference? If, like, for example, if you had a daughter, she'd be more kinder, gentler, more. I'm being general here, but like your kid is like really cool. He's got a footballer vibe.
Yeah.
He's very playful, and he doesn't. So I mean, do you feel like you'll be able to translate that? And also, as let's ask you a question about being a woman who's given birth to a child. Your identity has now also taken a new role as a woman. Does that does your being a mother come into your work in any way? Like
It's yes and no. I would
other
be
than
right
Apni,
to-
other
yeah,
than
yeah.
Apni.
Other than Apni, no. I mean, even in Apni, like I have never said she's a mother. You know, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. So let's answer some of the first thing you said. Yes.
No, if you don't want to do a personal conversation, I'm
No, I mean, I'm
It's just
okay. I'll
about-
talk and we can talk about it if you want to cut it out. But how has translating is? I mean, he's going to be his own being. I can do what I can do, and you know, I can show him how to be in the world,
yeah.
and he will
He
learn.
thinks you're damn cool. Like I mean, like,
Yeah, my score got higher, by the way, after seeing my work yesterday.
we saw your work.
No, he saw my work.
How does your son respond to your work?
Yeah, he likes it.
He's like, so this is what you were doing.
This is what why you've been missing. No, he thought it was really cool. He as like he shows it in a different way, but in terms of, I don't need to translate anything. I will share what I share with him. My partner offers him one way of being,
Yeah.
and I give him another option, and he can choose and make his own ingredient
Yeah.
of how he wants to be. How it has affected my life, I honestly, for the very long, for the first many years, and even now, motherhood is an identity that I'm still kind of grappling. I don't ever just feel like, oh, I this like mom energy.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm a lot
You're
of
a
these
cool
these
Indian mom.
things. Cool Indian mom. Go ahead.
Are you like an Indian tiger mom, like a child, like you know,
Nowhere close. For all the mischievous stuff, he comes to me. He's like, Dad is gonna like. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a question, and if you say I don't want to talk about it, I'll cut it out.
Sure.
Because I can't have this conversation with anybody else.
Go ahead.
You know where I don't know if you know where I'm going with this.
No.
But you came to the US. I asked you if you could get me some things, and gummies and like. I want to ask you if you want to have a conversation with me about psychedelics.
I am a big psychedelic person. I am an evangelist.
And yeah, so I'm going to look in the camera and say that there are very few artists who I can, and she's a very liberal person, so I'm free enough to ask her this question on camera, to ask her about her experiences with different psychedelic, psychotropic substances. I am curious about this space. I'm very visually sensitive myself, and I have a fear. I haven't yet found my drug. I just feel I've done marijuana in the past. I've reduced mass. I've dropped it actually now for my life. I have too much responsibilities. And then I kind of over the years have been, I know like you have gummies and you have hash brownies and like you make cakes out of it and like, I don't know. So I want to ask you upfront a question. And it also somewhere reflects in your work, the way I
Very
see,
psychedelic.
the way I see it. I want to ask you if you can give me an introduction of how you maybe entered, because I'm only asking you because this is obviously visually stimulating. As a visual artist, I'm asking you. I don't subscribe to this. I don't personally. I have to say this on camera legally. I don't subscribe to consuming this in India because I know what the legal laws are. But from an experiential point of view, I want to ask you, because you're in the US, the laws apply to you very differently there. We can just have a conversation.
We can talk about it.
We
and
can talk about
figure
it.
it.
Talking about it is not a crime.
So let's see. Let's call it plant medicine because it comes from the earth.
Plant medicine.
And that's a safe way of talking about.
No, go for it. I don't care.
No, but it's just a lot of the way.
I spoke to my lawyer and he said you can talk about it.
Yeah.
And as I'm not consuming it, so whatever I did in Mexico. So it doesn't even apply in India. So for you, I'm asking you for you.
What is my experience with these things? All I can share is that I think any kind of substance eventually is you can call it a bridge, you can call it a guide, you can call it a kind of collaboration at the end of the day. Whether it's music, whether it's psychedelics, whether it's marijuana or anything really, all these substances are kind of opening up a part of your subconscious, giving you access to, they're like a key to a different door in different room in your being, right? Now, are you open to opening that door that feels hard and that is perhaps scary, brings out fear, brings out like these uncomfortable emotions? And so that work actually happens before you take any substances,
And
right? That work.
You're looking for bad trip?
That's what I'm talking about. Good trip, bad trip is, again, it's all subjective in the way, because you can have a really hard experience in a psychedelic trip, but it could still be a good trip because that's what you needed to see within yourself. That's what your subconscious needed to reveal to you, to be able to see where in your way of being there was work needed.
Yeah.
Right? So
Are you a burner? Have you gone to...
I have been to the Burning Man like many, many years ago. I wouldn't call myself a burner at all. But what I'm trying to say is that all these substances that one can consume, when they are used for therapeutic purposes, which is what I have often used with guides in sound ceremonies,
You've done ayahuasca.
not ayahuasca, but I have done like these psychedelic sound healing journeys.
But you've done acid?
Are we like listing all the things here?
No, I'm curious.
Yes.
What's the syllabus?
The syllabus is extensive.
It's extensive, huh?
No,
I
it's
mean, the
very-
chemistry. I mean, I know of some friends of mine in Amsterdam who like chemically have perfected the experience.
Yeah. It's so I have
So
guides. I have
I'm like-
teachers and guides who like help me kind of, take it in a way that where it makes sense.
Which is why I said syllabus. There are guide.
Guide. Yeah.
No, I'm afraid.
That's what I'm saying. And I think the fear you're feeling
Yeah.
towards psychedelics is probably also exists outside of psychedelics in your life.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to say, that the substances are important. They are not important, they're really powerful in taking you someplace, but the work of like going there, still you have to do. So think of it like sunglasses, right? Like you're wearing the glasses.
Yeah.
It's giving you clear vision, but
Yes.
the act of seeing, you still need to be able to see what to see.
Yes.
So it's the same with ADHD medication. It's the same with psychedelics. It's the same with like real classes.
Yeah.
So that much of like inner work
Yeah.
of the discernment, the awareness of what you want to see, where do you want to go, that work there's no substitute for.
Yeah.
There's no shortcut to. And so in that way, that's where it kind of all comes down to the healing conversation that we started. It's a very wide way of
Yeah.
really thinking about like who are you in your own eyes in some ways, right? And can you change that relationship with yourself? And that's all I've been working on over the past many years with the many different projects, dealing and kind of addressing different parts of my subconscious, different parts of my being. Like with Apni, I'm more kind of focusing on this kind of deep inner child, sensual being, kind of evoking that. With the blob and the awoke, like this psychedelic blob that we see a lot. I was thinking more about like, okay, what does God look like in my world? If I were to make my own God, spirit, energy, like
Yeah.
what is that going to be like? It's going to have
I saw
no
something
form
on
and some
Instagram
form.
where you were playing with these abstract forms in this.
Exactly. And so it's just, and then how it all relates to what you were saying about me being a mother is it started, the inquiry started at that time.
Yeah.
When he was born, I have been so resistant to all forms of religion.
Yeah.
Growing up all my life, I was like, patriarchy, no fucking way. I'm not going to like deal with this. As soon as I was out, I was like, I don't have to do anything with this. But then once he was born, I was like, oh my God, now I'm supposed to share something about my culture, my upbringing, about something about who I am with him.
Yeah.
So then what do I actually believe in? If I don't believe, all I knew is that what I didn't believe in.
Yeah.
And the process of what I do believe in,
It was a rebellious kind of approach.
it has always been very rebellious. And with Apni, I'm finally kind of being like, you know what, I'm done fighting. Can I just be and just say yes to like the things as
Yeah.
opposed to like no to this, no to this, no to this, no to this.
It's a part of growing up, I guess.
Exactly. And so, and that's how I arrived at, figuring out what I actually believe in that process of giving him birth and figuring out, and
You didn't explain to me what's your relationship with money.
what my relationship
Like
with
money
money
is energy. Is this a blob or is it like? Does it? I mean, see, you're in the US.
Yeah.
You spend in dollars. You earn in dollars.
Yeah.
Then when you come to India, suddenly you're like, hey, I can get production. Can't you get production? Like, most of your work done much better here in India. Like we could be the
I could.
service providers in
I
India.
could. I could.
No, and you're getting like really high end stuff. People in India, I know, are doing like some
Yeah, I would
stunning
love
international projects.
Um,
I get a lot of work from all over the world because I'm a subject matter expert in some deliveries for art related projects. So I'm just like, and I know quite a few people who are doing world class level stuff. Like all of us are really delivering, and it's just some people, and it's all happening online.
right.
So you don't need to have a
No,
physical.
I would love to do more production and more
You're
work
planning
in
on shifting
India.
to Goa. Let's
I would
close.
love to.
We are about to close the podcast in some time. I'm getting to the end of it. I wanted because of time. I want to ask you. I have so many things, but I just want. You're planning on shifting to Goa. Suddenly she tells me, she's like, यहाँ पे घर लेना हो तो कितने में आएगा? Rent कितना होगा? And I'm like, पहले आधार कार्ड लगता है.
है आधार कार्ड, I think.
And then LPG cylinder लगेगा. तो गोवा आ जाओ.
No, I've been looking for a
Why?
art home in India. I think it's just like where I am in
Art
my
home?
work. Art home.
How rich are you?
Arey
You
yaar,
have one art home as opposed to.
not rich. No, but it's just like, it doesn't need to be where like I need to live all the time or something because I have to be in New York for, some
मुझे
extent.
साइकेडेलिक और गोवा के साथ एक जोक याद आया. In
बोलो,
Goa,
बोलो.
people don't say hi, how are you?
Hmm.
They say how, hi are you? So it's basically like a
Good one.
It's
Good
a
one.
perfect place for you.
It's a perfect place. It's meant for me.
No, so
No,
you want to shift to Goa seriously?
I am like really in love with it so
You
far.
live in a digital world. What's that song? I'm a digital girl in a material
A
world.
material, digital
Yeah.
girl in a material
In a
world or
digital
whatever.
world. And
I mean,
so-
that's why it'll be a nice break, It'll be a nice break.
So it's like if you ever think of buying a property and you need someone to take care of it, in Goa, like,
Yeah. I'll let you know.
yeah, like when you go back and like whatever. But what citizenship do you have?
Right now, I have Indian citizenship.
Hey, so then you can't say all those things you said.
What did I say? I said nothing.
हाँ no, मतलब
I said plant medicine are collaborators.
हाँ वो सब चलेगा. अरे this will become some South Park episode. Anyways, anything you want, anything that you feel that I did not ask you to bring out the best in you?
Bring out the best in me. I don't know. I
to kind
think
of
it
like
was-
not the best in you, to kind of like I want to have a chat with, like everybody's interviewing artists these days like as though I'm putting them on a pedestal. Nobody's like, I'm interviewing people as human beings with all your failures, and like I've had a great last 5 years, a great run professionally, and lots of rejections, lots of amazing highlights and all. And I'm going through because of my age, some hormonal shit happening. And so I ask people, and all my friends of our age group are like going through, like suddenly like, oh, we're adults now.
We're adults now.
Yeah, I just realized a few months back that my wife is not my friend anymore. She's family. And like I was like, and it actually like hit me, like that, it actually hit me. Like we forgot to have children. Like
You forgot to have Man.
no, like we were like
overrated,
we've been having so much fun. And I'm like, then suddenly I realized that now my parents are becoming older, her parents are becoming older. I'm like, oh wait, I can't be drunk in the night. I can get a phone call anytime.
Yeah.
And then so many artists that I call up, they've changed as people after marriage, after certain responsibilities, after joining galleries, after
Yeah.
they don't want to be projected on Instagram in a certain way. They're very conscious of their identity. So I'm just asking people some very human questions
Yeah.
about this. If
No,
there's
this
something that I didn't ask you,
What did you not ask me? I think you asked me a lot of stuff. I talked about.
I will do one when
things.
I come there to the US.
Yeah. You should come to US.
Yeah, she's got a huge house. You can all stay in her place.
All state, but yes, everybody.
Come this way. 'Cause you might be out of the.
Everybody.
If you could please look into that camera,
Which one?
the black one,
Okay.
and say how you like the podcast, and then end by saying like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and
Like,
subscribe.
comment, and subscribe to Art History Plus.
All right, please like, share, and subscribe to Artistry Plus.
Yes.
This
No,
is
you
awesome.
don't need to ring the bell.
Okay, don't ring the bell.
You can just subscribe.
Just subscribe.
Thank you so much.